So, what do we learn this week about Harvest Wave in Modern? And, oh man. So, overall, we finished with a 2 and 3 record, which obviously isn't ideal. We'd like to win more than that. However, in our hearts, it was actually a 3 and 2, which I mean isn't a big difference, but the game against Black White Tokens, we definitely would have won, I believe, if we had waited one more turn to play our Spawnsire Vulamog. So that was just a mistake on my part. However, it is a good lesson, and basically, I just didn't expect that our deck could make 30 mana in a turn. And when I went back and counted it, we actually could have made 30 mana. So I was thinking, oh, we just got to play Spawnsire. Next turn, we can use Spawnsire, get our Emeralds and stuff. So count your mana, because that's what I didn't do in that scenario. And it actually ended up costing us that match. That was game one, but we went on to lose in three. So I think that that was the difference between a win or a loss. Overall, the deck, it's really interesting. So it's super explosive, as you saw in the last game. Like, the game 3 against Tezzerator was absurd. There was so much disruption. Our opponent had so many ways to deal with our stuff, with the pithing needles and so forth. But once we get going, there's just not much anyone can do to stop it. I mean, counter spells, yes, but once the deck gets going, the combo is really insane and very game-winning. So that's the good news. On the other hand, I found myself wondering if this was slightly subpar. Maybe this isn't the best way to go about what we were trying to do. So the takeaways that I found were the ramp package, the known ramp package of Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl. That's obviously good. That's the basis of several tier 2, tier 3 decks in Modern. So that's good. The part that surprised me was the power level of our Vernal Blooms combined with our early harvest. That really lets our deck go from not doing much at all to doing insane things in the matter of a turn or two. When we can, like, turn 2 or turn 3 of Vernal Bloom and then early harvest double our already doubled mana into something like Genesis Wave, it's a way we can win really quickly. The problem is, Spawnsire, while it's really cute and really fun, I'm not sure it's the best way to win the game. There were definitely some times where I was like, man, I wish we just had something else here. Like, is Spawnsire really better than just getting a Craterhoof Behemoth, for example, and attacking and killing our opponent after the huge Genesis Wave, or some other sort of finisher? So I'm not sure that the Spawnsire is ideal, but it does work, and it does kind of get the job done. A couple of other things I noticed: Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, we almost lost a game because it destroys a permanent instead of exiling. So I'm pretty sure that Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger is essentially a strict upgrade in this deck. It's not really, because you don't have Annihilator, and getting Annihilator 10 with Emrakul and Ulamog is definitely going to win the game. The problem is, how often are we not going to win the game when we get an Emrakul and Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger? I can't see many situations where that's going to happen, and Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger does solve some problems that the Infinite Gyre does not, and just exiling 2 permanents is pretty sweet. So the deck did pretty well at what it wanted to do. The problem is, I guess, twofold. There were two things that I didn't like about the deck. One thing is, we occasionally draw the wrong half of our deck. That's the age-old criticism of ramp decks, and it's definitely true. We had some games that we lost because we just drew all of our finishers but couldn't get our ramp going, or our opponent killed our early ramp, and we just got stuck with Genesis Waves and Eldrazi in our hand and didn't do anything. We also had some games that we lost because we just drew all ramp and never found our finisher. And even though we have the Harmonizes, which definitely help, I don't know if there's a good solution to that problem, especially since we really have to be mono green to take advantage of Vernal Bloom, or very close to mono green. I guess we can play Shocklands, but to make early harvest work, we need all basics. So to play this ramp package, there is a significant cost, and we need to really restrict ourselves to just basic forest to make it work, which leads to some crazy explosion like we saw in Game 3 against Tezzerator and some other games. But it also is a downside where we can't really do a whole lot to solve some of the issues with the deck and issues with ramp decks in general. So that was one big takeaway. The other thing is, unless we get a really good draw, like turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Utopia Sprawl, Vernal Bloom, turn 3 Early Harvest Genesis Wave, something along those lines. Like when we're not getting nut draws, Our deck, while it's a sweet combo deck, is not as fast as some of the other decks in the format, and it dies to a lot of disruption. Like, ramp, get hit by Thoughtseize, take our Genesis Wave, our whole deck just kinda scumbles and doesn't do anything at all. So that's the other issue with the deck, is I'm not sure it's the best at what it's trying to do. That said, it's super fun. Winning with Spawnsire is super unique, and it was fairly effective, so I don't think this is the ideal ramp build, although I'm definitely excited to explore Early Harvest and maybe even Vernal Bloom in the future in some form or another, because that package felt really powerful, but I think that we're like not quite as good as some of the other combo decks, and we also have very little resistance. Like, main deck, we have essentially zero interaction. I guess we have a Beast Within, but we don't have much to disrupt our opponent, and even after sideboarding, we're mono green, so we're using like Plow Unders and 10, 11 mana Eldrazi, and so forth to try to deal with our opponent, which just isn't a lot. So I like a lot of aspects of the deck. I think it's really fun. It's fairly budget friendly, so I think you could take this to an FNM and have a blast. As far as being competitive, I have to think that Tooth and Nail, some of those other ramp decks that are similar might be slightly more competitive and more consistent than our deck, but they don't have the crazy explosiveness, and they definitely don't have the super sweet Spawnsire kill. So I guess it's one of those achievement unlock type decks. In some ways, and I might have mentioned this during the games, it kind of feels like Against the Odds more than a competitive deck, like Against the Odds Spawnsire Ulamog, and this is a great Against the Odds Spawnsire Ulamog deck, and it's probably more competitive than that, to give it credit. I don't want to make it sound like it was horrible, because it wasn't. It was average. So I think it's fun, it's unique, it's really cool, but as far as being a tier deck or anything, I don't think it's there, and I think if your goal is to win tournaments and you really want to play a deck that's similar to this, you would play Tooth and Nail, maybe a Devotion type deck, something like that. So anyway, that's been our Against the Odds this week, Harvest Wave in Modern. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the videos, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.